Things are going to start happening to me now.
You've done all the reading. You're a scholar. You're a professor. You've done all the reading. You've done the intellectual heavy lifting.
More or less, eat shit and die.
You wouldn't know a fact if it begged you all night long.
Want to give the wrong impression because I am very high.
Fucking ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
Care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
And we're back. Libertarian Podcast Review. Tyler Yonke, Andy Garbage Main with his Bucky's hat, his Libertarian Institute shirt.
What up, what up?
I'm sorry. What's up, Lonnie?
I'm Lonnie Maxon right now. Just chilling. How are you?
All right. How was your, let's start with your, first of all, let's see if anybody, Spud's in the chat. I don't know what the N stands for.
No idea.
None. Let's talk about your weekend first. I mean, that's really what this is all about. I'm going to have you report from, where were you at? Tennessee?
Oh, went to the
Take
Human Action.
Yeah.
Mises Caucus Take Human Action tour. It was advertised in Nashville, but of course, like most things, it wasn't actually in Nashville. It was about 35, 40 minutes outside of Nashville, but it was a good time. Some good speakers. Got to hang out with old Wiggerty Lockdown. I met him before in Texas, and it was cool to see him again.
Was it at a Waffle House? What was this?
It was at a hotel.
A Days Inn or something?
Yeah, it was actually Ramada.
Okay, Ramada. Sorry. Okay, so tell me about this a little bit, because I do want somebody. And I started watching his debate, and I thought we would just play the open because I think it's kind of interesting, and then you can talk about some more of that. So you go there. Did you get a hotel for the night?
No. I live close enough by to where I didn't need to get a hotel.
Yeah. I know that answer. I just was trying to see if you had an interesting, maybe you would, use comedy and say, yeah, you're a prostitute or whatever, you're a man whore. Was there?
I would, but it's a libertarian event, so no one's getting laid at those things anyway. That's kind of implied.
How dare you show someone up? Right. So you go there. It's the Take Human Action tour that they have here that was going to come through Oakland, not too far from me, 2 hours. They've canceled it. I'm not sure exactly why, but it's been canceled, and it was going to be Wiggerty Lockdown too. Ian Crossland from Timcast, I think he was going to be there. A few other words. So Scott Horton was going to be there. So it's canceled, so I can't enjoy that time. But
they also canceled the one in Colorado too, and I don't know a whole lot of what is going on, but.
Yeah, Spud, welcome to being a libertarian. We self-completion is what it's all about. Anyway,
yeah.
So who all spoke?
Well, I mostly went to see Jeff Dice because I'm a huge Dice fan, Stan Club. So he spoke. He did a speech on A Strange Liberty. He was the last speech. Anton Chamberlain started the day, I believe. He's a younger Mises fellow, getting his PhD at MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Mark Lobliner, kind of a meathead dude, but he seems like he backs the Mises Caucus. And it was interesting to hear just from. He's much more normie perspective, but he's just like, hey, libertarians, get in shape. And I mean, libertarians aren't the most sociable or in shape people. Some are, some definitely are more than others, but I did notice quite a few cargo pants at the event.
Cargo pants.
Keith Knight opened it up. Sorry, Keith Knight was before Anton Chamberlain, and Keith Knight had a great speech about war being the health of the state. And he actually had a contention point with it I forget what it is exactly. I should have almost brought a notepad to take notes, but I thought that would have been corny.
Yeah. But I would have enjoyed the fact that you would have remembered something. Let me ask you quickly, back up just a second. Now, what's the weather like there, and especially this weekend in Tennessee, where you're at?
It was nice during the day. It was cold in the morning, so it's been a little bit chillier here in the mornings.
So, and the reason I ask is these cargo pants. Were they the kind that zip off for shorts, or did these people actually have to go? Because I could see that being the case, the kind that zip off at the knees that turn into shorts, the cargo pants that then turn into cargo shorts. Rather than having two pair, a pair of shorts and a pair of pants, these people just come prepared. That seems to me to be the libertarian go-to. What say you?
I don't know. There was quite a few cargo pants. I'm not much of I like wearing cargo pants to work, but I dress fairly sharp for this thing.
Wow. Tell me about it. First of all, show your hair. Who's got longer hair now, me or you?
You do.
Damn, look at you.
I don't know. I might have a little bit longer, but it's shorter on the sides. So
yeah, solid.
Yeah, getting ready for summertime over here.
That's awesome. Okay, so cargo pants aside, Keith Knight comes out, knocks it out of the park. I do want to talk about Lubliner or whatever, get it in shape. I was pushing that back when I was having the debate or talking with Mark Claire, and he's like, hey, get your money. And I'm like, I get that, but your libertarians need to get in shape, fix your face, whatever it is, because it's gonna start you on that same path. So
people with a better physiognomy tend to get higher pay. It's just the way it is. You look better, you get paid more. So that's one thing you can at least start with.
Right. So good. I do like that Mark thing, and I push that. I mean, get it. I've really enjoyed to see what's happened to Cole on the physical side, not the mental. But that he, for a while there, I was like, oh, I'd seen pictures of him in high school. He was kind of thin, and all of a sudden he was getting chunky. And I'm like, it's not where you want to go when you start having kids. What's the motivation? And then he turned it around, and now it's scary.
Yeah. Cole's turned into a little beast. But yeah, shout out to him. He's doing well.
And by the way, Keith Knight, I've seen pictures. It looked like he had lost a bunch of weight and it was getting
he's looking real sharp. And his speech was good. Keith is one of my favorite libertarians. He's just his video essays are great. He's very articulate. He knows his shit, and he's on a similar level to Scott Horton. Just as far as an encyclopedia of knowledge and recall knowledge is just insane.
He does a lot. And by the way, you could see behind us here, there's the Tom Woods week is coming up, and one of the episodes I did listen to was Keith Knight on with Tom Woods, and it was great. And Tom had been on Keith's show and done like some, quick draw type of questions. And then Tom did that kind of with Keith but Keith just knew all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I think if Tom did that without telling me the topic, I would fail on like 9 out of 10 of these issues. I'd be like, I read something. I don't know.
Yeah. Keith's great. Let's see. After Anton was our boy Clint Russell, Wiggerty, host of the Wiggerty Lockdown podcast, and he sat in with, I believe he's in some kind of leadership position of the Tennessee LP.
Not Clint.
Seemed like a real nice guy.
Oh, some other guy.
Clint and another guy sat down to talk.
What was Clint's talk on? Did he just read his?
They talked about ESG and DEI.
Okay.
And it was pretty good.
Just read his portion from Keith Knight's book. Have you read that?
No, I haven't. I need to.
It's like a page.
Well, send me a screenshot of it. Pirate it for me.
I have it. It might be over on my bed. It's bed reading material. So, anyway, keep going.
That's pretty good. And then so the lunch speaker was Mark Lubliner, professional bodybuilder, chief marketing officer of Tiger Fitness. Et cetera, et cetera. And then
Did you just yell out Tiger Blood at one point?
The lunch was actually really good, surprisingly. But I mean, it was catered, nice, fancy Hilton hotel food.
Yeah.
After that was Robert Breedlove, who I thought was really good, who talked about he's the host of What Is Money podcast.
Okay.
and he kind of went into some pretty good detail philosophically about what is money and how it you're able to send information through time and space via money, which I thought was really interesting. And it wasn't necessarily like hyped up crackhead Bitcoin nonsense. This was he cited a lot of Mises and Hoppe, and I thought it was really good. Definitely am more interested to check out some of his work. And then after that was Jeff Dice. And like I said, he did a speech on A Strange Liberty, knocked it out of the park. He's just so good. I can't wait to get that book too and read it. Then they did a Q&A. Have you started reading it yet or no?
No.
We got to finish our damn family court series.
Right.
After Jeff Dice was a Q&A panel with there's only one person in the chat. Hell yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'm a Buc-ee's nationalist, by the way. Q&A panel with all the speakers. That was pretty good. There were some good questions. Prax Ben was also there at the fee booth. So I talked to him for a little while. And then after the Q&A, I went and got a beer, got myself queued up for the next event was the foreign policy debate with Wiggerty Lockdown, Clint Russell, and Destiny. And when I was sitting up at the bar, I heard Destiny come in, and I was like, this dude has terrible fizz, and he's got blue hair, and he's looking for the room that I was just in. So I was like, is this guy in the right place? But yes, sat through the debate. I thought it was pretty good. It was Clint's first live debate, and I could definitely tell he was a little bit nervous. I talked to him for a little while in the car, and I think if I'm to be objective, I don't think either one really won. Destiny's strength in debates is what's it called? Gish galloping or whatever. He's just
What's that mean?
Where you basically overwhelm your opponent with statements like he's just such a quick talker. And Clint is not as well versed on the geopolitics stuff as he is finance. And I mean, Clint is intuitively good at the stuff, but he's not, he's not Scott Horton level, and not everybody can be that, and that's fine. But all things considered, I think, Clint did really well for his first live debate against, a master debater and Destiny, someone who's professional, basically a professional debater.
Is that what he does? I'd never heard about him before this. And I know we did a show where we highlighted Clint on with Joe, the attorney, and he knew, I know Destiny. I guess he's a big YouTuber, but with that hair, there's no way I would watch his show. I mean, the only one I'll watch like that is Karen and Big J that have colored hair. And now Ari, because he did that, I guess, the other night too.
Well, does mine count as color since I'm a ginger?
Colored,
is that why nobody watches our show?
There's hair colors, and then there's colored. No wait, hairs, colored hair. Colored hair, I think, is the problem. It's like people of color are colored people. So yeah, I think yours is fine. I mean, yours isn't fine but it's natural, which is possibly worse. But at least you're being you, whereas Destiny is not.
Yeah, he's got abysmal physiognomy, terrible. And, Destiny's positions are so egregious to me that they're almost foreign. I asked him at one point, I don't know if the question is on here, but I asked him a question towards the end once they open it up for Q&A. He seems to be open to letting foreign states have sovereignty, but not if a state wanted to secede here, he would not be opposed to, or he would be opposed to them having self-determination or any kind of secessional sovereignty.
I thought, and so it's interesting to hear your point of view, and I thought we would play, because it's real short, his open, and then we could do Clint's open. They're a little different. I did hear Clint saying some things, and I think you mentioned it when we had a phone call, very romantic one, by the way. There was no moderator, so there was some out of sorts. Clint felt that perhaps, it was more like him hosting a podcast rather than, just being able to kind of sit back and not worry about this flow because you have a moderator. I mean, this is me putting words in, that's not what he's necessarily said, but when you have a moderator, like you and I, we're going here, someone's got to take control of the show, right? We got to keep it moving. And that's usually one of the things I'm always thinking about. Whereas if we're doing a debate and someone's moderating, you and I just sit back and get told what, now speak and what do you think of this and that? So there's maybe a bit of a mental difference there too. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there was some moderation, like they were given the opportunity to, open. They each had their opening and a rebuttal, and they, gave each other a chance to talk without interruption, and kind of went back and forth. And then there was, sort of an open discussion format as well. So
okay, so maybe I'm wrong or not. I don't know. I got these new in-ear monitor pieces, which curve around. They stick good, but I don't have good ears, so my ears I don't know, the ears themselves aren't big, but the hole is like kind of there, so they don't hold stuff in too good, and so I'm frustrated.
So your holes are stretched out.
Right, definitely at my age too. But the thing is, I could hear everything. It's more noise canceling, so everything's much a little bit better.
And for those of you watching the video format, we just learned also that Tyler is a spitter and not a swallower. A couple of minutes ago,
dude, I've always had a problem with that. Okay, so it's definitely what TV show was that where the kids just it was Rob Schneider, who, by the way, we just posted up on Twitter that he was reading Jeff Dye's book. He's in the movie with Benchwarmers. One of the kids is Sammy the Spitter, and he's anyway. That's me. That's literally me. It's problematic. So you don't want to catch whatever I've got, some sort of hepatic moisture coming at you. Watch out.
You need a mask at all times. Mask him up.
Right. So let's start off this. You okay with watching some of this?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if you can't hear it. I can't hear it. Let's see. Rumble. Did it do it? Okay.
Thank you.
I can hear it.
Like first open? Do what? You want the first open or you want me to go? I can go if you want. Okay.
That hair. Yeah, he looks hot. He dressed up for
my
it.
position is pretty simple. I think there are 5 important reasons why.
Okay.
Hey, that's the back of my head, the bottom left corner.
That's what I was going to say. Where are you? Is this you right here with the hat?
Yep.
Wait, this hat up here? This you?
No, bottom left.
Okay.
The United States support Ukraine and the Ukraine-Russian conflict. I think the first thing is that Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2014, initially when they seized Crimea, was obviously and completely unjustified. And who better to stand against a Russian unjustified invasion than the United States with the collaboration of NATO and Russia? Second reason is because I think a peaceful and stable Europe is important to the entire world, especially to the United States. They're important geopolitical allies and they're important trading partners. For the third point, in 1994, we signed 3 different agreements called the Budapest Memorandum that had 3 countries, one of them being Ukraine, agreeing to give up all of their nuclear arsenal back to Russia in exchange for their territorial sovereignty being respected. It is not currently being respected, so I think that we should enforce that treaty. Number 4, I think that if we allow Russia to invade Ukraine, to hold on to Crimea, or to conquer even more territory, we're basically sending a message to the rest of the world that unless you're either part of NATO, part of a Russia-China alliance, or somebody that's acquiring nuclear weapons on your own, you're not safe. So I think that for the purposes of preventing nuclear proliferation, it's probably important to prevent other countries from thinking that they're going to be invaded and conquered if they don't have nuclear weapons of their own. And then the final reason is because I think that a victory for Russia here will both embolden Russia and China in future territorial conquest. So I think it's an important thing to shut down that idea right now and to show them that the rest of the world will stand against those types of activities that infringe on the territorial sovereignty of other countries.
Okay, I did speed it up a bit, but I thought it was interesting. What did you take away from that that is America's interest?
Absolutely nothing of that is America's interest. It would be okay, if the U.S. had a moral leg to stand on in this fight, but we don't. So, I mean, it's not, territorial sovereignty is important, and I'm fine with Ukraine defending their borders, and I'm fine with Russia defending their borders. I'm also fine with the U.S. defending our borders, but we're talking about 3 competing gangs here and corrupt governments that, obviously towards the end of it, he talks about, he doesn't want it to be another Iraq 2.0 or Afghanistan 2.0. Well, everything that he lays out is going to make it an eternal quagmire. And we've already, seen these sorts of conflicts before. America's interest is not in defending Ukraine's sovereignty. We're turning them basically into a client state with these war bonds. And, you know, even if Ukraine wins, they're going to be forever indebted to the U.S. And it's, you know, the people are going to be ravished.
Okay. Spud says, of course he is, no dedication at all. I don't know what that's about. I'm just going to assume it's about his body.
I'm all right with, you know, I think I wanted to send Clint, Dave's kind of discussion around this with Eichel and the other gay wad dude. What's
Jonathan Casey?
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought Dave did great and kind of handed both those dudes' asses to him when I watched that. And I think, you know, I wanted to send it to Clint, but I'm not like somebody's debate prepper. And I kind of feels rude to be like, oh, here, let me send you this thing.
Yeah.
You know
I'm sure he watched that though. I mean, I mean, you can lose a debate. You can be the more righteous person. You can be know the facts and lose the debate because that other person might be better at, you know, recalling them or the way that they're just surmising things. Or, you know, it depends on what the audience is in. I'm not a big fan of, and I didn't listen to much of this, of just declarative statements where you just state something as a fact and you don't back it up with some, you know, sort of evidence and proof. Yeah. So that's, I'm sure, a problem that this guy would have. So what was his best argument? What do you think was his best point? Because there's got to be, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious the right decision here, but a lot of people think it's the other one. So what do you think his best point was, or did he have any?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you know. For me, I think his best point was that, you know, territorial sovereignty is important, but, you know, when it comes down to brass tacks, he doesn't support that in any other form. You know, if I asked him, you know, if Tennessee or a state like Texas or Hawaii was to secede, would you support the federal government going in there? And he said, yes, absolutely, he would, because he thinks it's illegal. So, I mean, it's kind of a schizophrenic argument to make on his behalf, but this is the, you know, the neoliberal, neoconservative, progressive.
Is he a neoliberal? What is kind of his background if you were to strip away like his
well, his name on Twitter is the Omniliberal. Okay. He seems like a neoliberal to me. I don't know.
It was good of him to show up for this libertarian debate though.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a room that would have been more hostile to him. But, you know, some people in the room, when they asked him a question, they let it off by saying, you know, we don't support you being banned on anything, which I thought was good. People were, you know, extended that courtesy to him.
Is he banned?
I think he was banned on Twitch or YouTube or something.
Sounds based.
But, you know, he makes the same neoliberal and neoconservative arguments that it is America's job to go around and police the world because it makes the world safer, when that's just simply not true.
Yeah. I remember
Bill Kristol does a better job at it than he does. And Bill Kristol got his ass wrecked.
I used to listen to Dennis Prager a lot, and, you know, he has talks about a lot of these things in moral, you know, fashion and being the world's police, but in a different way of, you know, pushing back against evil. And this was it really resonated with me just fine, you know, early 2000s. That starts to wane a bit. And, you know, I was all for, you know, spreading democracy. That's the idea. And now you realize, you know, we can't do that in our own country, let alone trying to go over to someplace in the Middle East and telling them they're doing things wrong. Here's how we do it. And it blows my mind. Anyway, and in Russia, Ukraine, very similar. So, okay, that's his stuff.
Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. And Yankee progressives, this is where it comes from. Tyler, let the record reflect that I've been more based than you for longer, despite my young age.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. That's
all right. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Whatever. You've been gay longer, though.
Well, I can't change that. Some of us are just born this way, okay?
But you can decide to be trans. I don't understand how one you could do, one you can't. Shouldn't trans be the whole way of now saying, you know, therapy conversion therapy actually works? Because I mean,
I don't know, but all of my enemies are eunuchs. I don't know about you.
Okay, well, okay. So let's hear what Clint has to say in his open. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. It sounds a little low, but that's not my fault.
I'm 40 years old. I'm a man. I'm 40. don't know if you've seen that press conference.
Did you laugh?
It's hilarious. In my entire life, I have witnessed U.S. global hegemony. It hasn't gone so hot. The national debt has gone from about $1 trillion when I was born to $32 trillion today. Not even $1 trillion when I was born, but I am kind of old now. I'm extremely concerned about the trajectory. I think that ultimately we're going to get caught up, and I know we're going to do it anyways. We're going to get caught up in the minutia of the relationship between Russia, Ukraine, NATO, America, Russia, all of the intervening situations that led to this war. But at the end of the day, it is my belief, and a fervent one, that the United States of America has lost its moral authority. It does not have the right to be dictating geopolitics on a global scale. So that'll be the umbrella argument. I think that the secondary argument will be that this war was quite clearly provoked. Now, he's not justified in the invasion, but I think that it's a very unfair argument to make that the U.S. government wasn't fomenting and pushing for there to be conflict between both Ukraine and Russia, as well as many, many other nations, which we will also get into. So yeah, I'll keep it tight. Ultimately, I think that this is the gravest threat to humanity that exists on the planet today, and this is why I was so thrilled to have this conversation with Destiny, because I think it's a very important one to be having, and I appreciate your guys' time and coming out. Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't find either. No offense to Clint, and I'll watch the whole debate. We're not going to watch it here, but I didn't think that's it's more of an introduction rather than an open where you might want to chop them off at the knees a bit.
Yeah.
I have to do, I do trials or sometimes, hearings, and I'm in court all the time. And you have to do sometimes, opening statement, or, the judge wants you to, and for me, I can't read it, but if I've written it down, then I have a good outline, then I'm solid. And that sometimes that open can really set the tone. That's just an idea. Maybe Clint will play with that. Destiny didn't really do that. He gave some bullet points. That's fine. Just because he's not playing the game, and you don't have to then dumb yourself down to do it. And I'm not saying I don't know what Clint did, but that's just, it's his first time here. But I think he did fine. I mean, he's got better hair.
And better fizz. So, I mean, he wins the debate just off better fizz in my book. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't, and no offense to Clint. Clint's the homie. I just didn't find it super compelling. Just as someone who's sort of, somewhat looked into this, and I'm not an expert in the whole conflict, but I would urge any libertarian that wants to debate this to also look into, we're pretty much all going to be in agreement that we don't have a moral leg to stand on. But look past 2014, and go into the Clinton era. But also I would encourage libertarians to read Yuri Maltsev, who is kind of on the other end of this. And there's also a Russian libertarian group that opposes the invasion that has had, some interesting back and forth with, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire Twitter account. It doesn't hurt to know as much information as possible on this, and from different sources that might, maybe conflict with what you had previously thought about this whole conflict.
Let me ask you, and I'm just kind of thinking of the debates. And by the way, this is all, I'll watch the whole thing, and I'm sure Clint did fine. And I'm really happy he got this chance to do this. And for him, I think it's important. And you and I talked, maybe foreign policy is not necessarily his bailiwick, as they say. Clint can go autopilot on the finance stuff, and geopolitics is kind of secondary to that. So for him to even accept a debate in geopolitics with someone who's a professional debater takes balls. So yeah, so good for him, and he'll learn from this, and he's doing fine. It's interesting. So you kind of set out your open, what your Destiny had 4 or 5 points of kind of here's his reasons why, and then obviously you can expand. It seems like to me Clint's thing is, okay, whatever. There was a provocation, and it may not have been a justified invasion, but there was a provocation, and therefore that's kind of his main gist. Did he stay with that, or did he because it seems pretty limited, right? It's I think that's one aspect of everything. So did he kind of expand later on and go into more things, or was that kind of his main?
Yeah, he talked about the NATO expansion. I think libertarians do have somewhat of a blind spot to Russia's sort of expansionism. They attacked Georgia. They also there was the apartment bombings. I believe it was in '99. And Yuri Maltsev has written about this.
Who's your matzo ball what? Who is this?
Yuri Maltsev, rest in peace. He used to write for the Mises Institute.
Oh, he just died.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, he was really good on, the history of Russia and being an expat and, their sort of contemporary conflicts that have gone on, the past 20, 30 years since the fall of the USSR. So, yeah, I think there is something to that, and I don't think that Russia is necessarily conservative. And I know a lot of U.S. conservatives are on the pro-Russia bandwagon, which is really strange to me. When at the fall of the USSR, they weren't returning stolen property to people, They compensated them, but not to any, not based on the actual market value of what was taken from them.
No.
Minder, this is not live.
No.
You're not.
And by the way, Spud was saying about me being a spitter. That's what she meant about no dedication. So maybe I'm dedicated, so dedicated that I'll go so far as to even spit. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. Andy, back to Russia.
No, I mean, I think Clint did well. There's some blind spots on both sides of this, and I've heard a few different debates, and just knowing what I've read and stuff, it seems like some of it seems like each party has their own set of blind spots when debating this topic.
I've talked to kind of some my right wing family, and they're not as into this as we are, so they don't necessarily know all the details. But the overwhelming feeling for them is just, why are we there? I mean, there's just there's no strategic interest, there's no national interest, and it's very easy for them to just have that question. I don't understand why do we care about
Well, to maintain the liberal world order, but
well, we know this, right? But so I'm saying, just the common man kind of question and answer, it seems to me is pretty easy to come out with, whether they believe all the Nazi and proliferation and not a step beyond this and all the NATO stuff, all that garbage that goes into it. I don't know. I do have this friend, and I've tried to bring him on the podcast. He's a liberal from Washington D.C., and he wrote an article right when we were going, when the war was happening, and he pinned it all on Trump. Trump's problem was he was, and it's so different than, it's the exact opposite, which is we pushed Putin into this war, I think, by, all the little things that Dave has always spelled out, where he's saying Trump pushed him into it because he was too nice. It's weird. And I'm like, usually you go to war, not because you're like, hey, someone's cheerleading you, but because your back is against the wall.
I don't know how that makes sense. Trump threatened to
I'll have to send it to you.
He said he had his finger on the button for the cultural monuments in Moscow and shit. And there is some weird, I'm kind of tinfoil hatty about this too, and thinking that maybe the Biden administration wanted the Russians to invade, given that his son's dealings in Ukraine with Burisma, and Hunter was also getting payments from the mayor of Moscow and his wife, who tried to flee the country with millions of dollars. So I think that it's intentionally confusing. You can't, the propaganda of war and the fog of war. And I try my best not to speak out of turn about these things. And I don't think, Putin is justified in this. And I don't think NATO expansionism is good. And I can hold both of those positions at the same time. I don't think, that Russia was provoked in the way that a lot of libertarians do, because, Ukraine has been a KGB ex-KGB corruption playground for a long time. They've had Russian oligarchs playing in, Ukraine and doing fucked up things for a long time. There's also, in the Donbass region, you had paid provocateurs from Russia to go and disrupt things, sort of, the same way that the U.S. destabilizes regions. This is nothing new to them. The USSR did this with their satellite nations for a long time. So,
yeah, no, you're totally. So I found the article, and I think you and I can read it and maybe debunk it at some point. It might be kind of fun for us. This guy's no slouch. He's a doctor of something or other. Anyway, he rides bikes too, but not like me. He rides them more like you. He's my actually favorite lefty. He was a guy I grew up with. He's a lefty, and we had good conversations. He's pretty smart, but yet it always frustrates me when you're smart and then you have conversations and then you see things you post on Twitter and whatnot, and you're just like, it's the Michael Knowles and these other guys, right? Where you'll have a conversation with Malice or Dave or someone, and they totally get it, right? They totally get it. And then they go on the show just, a few months later or weeks later on someone else, and they act like they don't even understand.
Yeah.
Like Nick
Alex
Sarwart's
Jones.
the only libertarian they've ever heard. And you're just like, you blow my mind.
Yeah. I like Alex Jones saying he's kind of anti-libertarian, but it's libertarians' fault and the leadership of libertarians' fault for not gatekeeping hard enough and running these people out. We're starting to see some of that, I guess, with the Mises Caucus. I'm not sure to what extent.
But you know what? Aaron McIntyre, all these two, he goes on Dave and he knows, it's not the Mises guys, it's all these other ones. But yet he'll continually lump all the good ones in with the bad ones. Yet if you were to say, some right winger shot something, the what's her name in Arizona that got killed, and they said, it was because someone said there was a target, and then anyway, so then you blame all the right wingers on the actions of one. That's exactly what he seems to be doing, and he, it's not fine for you to do that to him. I mean, what if I said all GOP are just I don't know, McCain. Oh yeah, McIntyre. Oh no, he's just like McCain because he's a GOP. Well, no, I'm different. Oh no, you're not. You can't have any nuance. But I'm smart enough to know that there's a difference in all these people, and so is he. So okay, let's see what she says. So we are not getting behind Joe Exotic then. Someone's getting behind him. That boy's still in prison. Understanding the libertarian legal theory doesn't simply imply the is the real world. I'm not down with the is-ought debate, if that makes any sense. Buddy control, look at those two handsome big bandits. Is that your alt?
No, but shout out to Buddy. I'm not sure what Minder means by that. Understanding the ought libertarian legal theory doesn't imply understanding the is the real world. I don't know. But I tend to be more of a ought to ought argumentation ethics guy. I'm not trying to bridge the is-ought gap.
By the way, I recorded I guess it's day 4 of Tom Woods week. So I'm holding them all. Actually, the members are getting sneak previews of this already. So if you want to remember over on Odyssey, you already seen at least 2 or 3 episodes. And I recorded it. And one of the episodes I did was Tom Woods says, where do your rights come from? And he did a talk. And it was fantastic to hear kind of from day one. He breaks things down. And at the end, he goes through Hans Hermann Hoppe, the argumentation ethics. And I thought, scarcity and all that kind of stuff. And I know Kinsella does a great job on that. But it was really cool to hear and listen to Tom kind of walk you through the whole Locke stage, all these different ones, you need I feel like if you're in an argument with someone, even like Destiny, where do your rights come from? You asked them it's kind of the same thing about, do you support secession on this thing or that? And it's interesting to hear, an argument with someone that can't even articulate where their rights come from. And then they go, I don't know, whatever the law says it is. Well, then they can take them away and they can grant them the same way. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the social contract theorists.
Not a debate. I am merely stating that libertarians in general do not understand what is actually happening in reality.
Well, are they then are they libertarians?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was
But everyone
distracted
gets
by
accused of not being a real libertarian.
by fee fi fo foam coming up the stairs. What's up, Emma?
Tyler says, "What's up? What? What are you showing me?"
Security camera with some bad pictures of Andy. Okay, maybe we'll. I'll take a look at this here. That's not what we wanted. He wanted to look at this Twitter thing. I don't know what this is. Maybe Andy will. Andy sent me this. It's Sudan Cliff Notes. I guess this is something he wants to talk about. What is this to do?
Sudan is collapsing as we speak. So this is sort of the Cliff Notes. August 24th, 2022, U.S. Ambassador appointed to Sudan following a 25-year lapse. September 28th, 22, U.S. Ambassador warned Sudan against finalizing Russian naval base deal. November 11th, 2022, Blinken urges Sudan to consider U.S. support for the rapid formation of a civilian-led transitional government. December 5th, 2022, UN brokers framework agreement between Sudan's military leaders and leading pro-democracy parties. Here comes the op. December 7th, 2022, Blinken threatens travel ban for Sudanese who endanger framework agreement deal. February 12th, 2023, Sudan confirms deal for Russian naval base. Key players Lavrov and Buran. I hope I'm saying that right. February 16th, 2023, Biden administration sends $288 million in humanitarian aid to Sudan. March 9th, 2023, Victoria Nuland, who's also involved in all this Ukraine stuff, visits Sudan to discuss democracy. There we go. Lincoln's Yankee plan. We need a Yankee world order. April 8th, 2023, conflict escalates between Sudanese armed forces under General Buran and paramilitary groups, RSF, under Dagalo. April 22nd, 2023, U.S. evacuates Sudan. So, I mean, this is a destabilization that's happened. One of the quickest destabilization ops that I've seen the U.S. do.
Yeah.
From August of last year to April of this year.
So this makes them look efficient, though.
Well, they are efficient at what they do.
I don't know. We were in Iraq and Iran, or Afghanistan forever. We're going to be over in Russia. I don't know, but yeah, interesting. So, what was this in reference to? You just wanted to say, "Hey, look at this go."
Well, not a lot of people know about the conflict that's going on in Sudan right now, and it's this isn't. I mean, I'm sure there's U.S. troops there, but it's not like a full-blown, Iraq invasion or Afghanistan invasion. This is more of, the types of color revolutions that they perform in nations all around the world.
Yeah. Let's go to the last one we have here. Looks like, was this maybe something personal to you? Barbie doll with Down syndrome launched by Mattel. This Barbie serves as a reminder that we should never underestimate the power of representation. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't read the story, but shout out to all the retarded girls out there. All the retardees out there.
I mean, this reminds me, there's one thing about being like inclusive and understand, like my kids, I'm sure you're out with your daughter. And if you see someone that obviously has a mental deficiency or, physical ailment or what have you, it's not great to have your daughter point and say, like that. You teach them respect, right? Or do you not? I mean,
hey, you live how you want to. She told me that I couldn't date the crossing guard at her school the other week because she's fat. So that's my daughter.
Well, that's kind of the thing. So, I have some stories about my kids too, pointing and talking. Anyway, it doesn't matter just because they were black.
I'm not opposed to it. I remember doing it when I was a kid in a bookstore with my mom, with someone who had a prosthetic leg, because I was interested in their leg. I'd never seen a prosthetic leg before, and so I went up and talked to the guy.
Now look, there's a difference between pointing out because you're interested, and then not making a spectacle of someone, right? And that's kind of my point here, which is perfectly fine. I think it's fine, but it's also nice to see, okay, I've got a Down syndrome kid, doesn't need to be mocked or what have you. It's not that kid's fault. But I don't know that you need to be making it, you have dolls And usually you get I liked Barbie, the good old days with the Simpsons, where she gets it's not a Barbie, it's something else, and it's got big boobs and it's fake and it's outlandish.
Malibu Stacy.
Yeah, Malibu Stacy.
My Simpsons knowledge is good. Yeah. No, I'm not a big fan of all this representation shit. Why can't you just picture Barbie being retarded if you need her to be? Retarded girls, do they not enjoy regular Barbies enough? They have to make a retarded one. But hey, right. I might get one just for the novelty of it because it's funny to me.
By the way, my daughter she's a senior in high school, and they have a thing where it's like human development class or something. And so every year, the seniors, they get one of these like robot babies that goes to the bathroom, it's monitored, and they have to, have it for a week like it's their own baby. It's kind of like, oh, you think you want to have sex and have kid? Well, here's what it's like. And it cries at night, and they've got it, they get graded on this whole thing. So she is supposed to pick it up today, and she told me us yesterday, she's like, oh, I requested a white baby.
Hell yeah.
They have Asian, they have black, and I'm like, what about Downs? Do they have a Downs baby? Maybe I'll have to look into that.
I've got a young daughter who likes Barbies, and I've noticed the trend just in the past couple of years that they've been pushing the diversity amongst Barbies. They've even got like a vitiligo Barbie that's got blotchy skin, and wheelchair Barbie and all these other things.
They used to just have them where it was like Ho Barbie. I mean, like Barbie's just Kent's.
They all are. I mean, you got Down syndrome Ho Barbie now, though. So,
yeah, remember those little dolls like Bratz? Do you remember those? I mean, those are like those are like hood rat hoes. I was like, hey, don't bring those home.
Yeah, well, there was some weird stuff with you might could look this up. The LOL dolls having like genitalia and having like sex bondage gear on, and it didn't come out until you had to like put the toys in the water or whatever. I didn't know about it.
I gotcha.
I didn't know about it. Baby mama told me about it. God rest her soul. But she's like, yeah, we're not getting LOL dolls for her anymore. I was like, all right, This is
for the most part, our kids aren't getting dolls at all. So
yeah,
except for my daughter's getting a fake one.
Pizzagate has turned out to be more true than Russiagate.
Right. But my daughter's had American Girl dolls, and you can order them. And one of their friends, blonde hair, blue eyed, she ordered a black one. You usually get it to look kind of like you, and that was fascinating. So anyway, I don't know what the point. What was your? Should we look at this again? See if there's any redeeming things to this. In this latest edition, the most diverse doll in the market hopes to continue its journey of inclusivity. In 2020, the company's Barbie Fashionista line featured its first doll with vitiligo, a doll with no hair, and a doll with a darker skin tone and gold prosthetic limb.
Yeah, this is how I've been telling you.
What about gold prosthetic teeth? Some grills on this thing. Oh, look at this. That's and they're probably like, oh, it's a Downs person with a real doll. Okay, these kids don't know what they're missing.
I wish they had a string on the back of it. You know what I mean? You could put, hey, I'm Barbie.
Math is hard. Spud says that stuff came out about the time that our daughter was outgrowing the LOL dolls, but I have them in storage. We probably have over 100 of them. Wow, that's you know what you guys are doing on the weekends. Hey, you want to spice things up? How about those dolls with genitalia?
Yeah, I've seen them in the stores. They're a little bit more overtly sexual than some of the other ones, but yeah, I think the representation matters crowd is going to be eating it up. And that's funny, they mentioned the vitiligo doll on there. It's pretty weird looking. There is and I like to do these with Emma. They've got like these color changing ones or whatever. They're like a mystery pack, and you put these Barbies in water and you don't know what they are. And I'm always like, don't be a black one. Don't be a black one when it comes out. But
Let's run through some news items here. Let's see if I can remember everything I want to talk to you about. Tucker Carlson gets fired. Don Lemon gets fired. It's the new ebony and ivory of the firing. Was Tucker fired, or was he? Because the first announcement was we've mutually decided to cut ties. Blah blah blah. It sounds like Don Lemon was definitely fired. Have you heard anything over the last few days on that?
I mean, I've heard the story. I haven't dug too much into it. Tucker is a leftist to me, and I'm not going to purity spiral about it because I do like Tucker, and he is like the only anti-war voice on national TV news that we had. However, I think that's a decaying industry, and if anything, this works in Tucker's favor. However, Tucker did have a way of activating the boomer waffen like no one else could. So it is kind of, it's a trade-off there. I think, Tucker will be successful wherever he ends up. Don Lemon, I don't know. He may be going to Wingstop to work for old Rick Ross and make lemon pepper wings. And Don, have heard some people mention that Don Lemon may go try to be a gay black conservative, since that grift tends to be working out for quite a few of the conservatives.
So that's my next one, and I'm going to do a complete episode on it sometime. I've already started writing a Substack months ago, but now it's just morphing into this, which is RFK comes out to I do give him credit for running as a Democrat. Okay, at least he knows his place. But he's coming out, and some people are getting excited about it. Now, there's been lines out there. It's easy to find where he has gone on record saying climate deniers should be jailed. Okay. Now he came out and he's like, oh, this is a misrepresentation. I was saying corporate people should, but you listen to it and you go, no, if anybody that can think that, you're crazy. That's thought. That's someone who has a thought that's almost different than, it's almost a step beyond just the vaccination thing. Anyway, so my thought with them, anti-war people. By the way, I heard of this great podcast. Carrie Baldwin read some stuff that her dad had talked about being in Vietnam War, 1967, the first battle of Loc Ninh, and then coming home and getting spit on and being yelled at, a baby killer and all this stuff. He drafted. And we have anti-war that we agree on, and then there's Caitlin Johnson, and there's some others that you want to criticize for their economics, and people get all worked up about that. RFK. What about us using these people rather than them always using us? Tucker Carlson, the same way. It's fine. Your JFK, your January 6th stuff, perfectly fine. Your shit on some of these other things, go away. But I want to. Why are they always using our side? Dave made a comment, and then I'll let you talk here. Dave made a comment about the Dave Rubin comes over to the GOP and they left me. How these people come over and then they push the right to be more like the left, and then they say, oh, the left left me. Well, I mean, you're now the right is where you used to be. That's a problem in itself.
It's completely subversive. Who's the other? What's the Hawaiian chick that all the libertarians?
Tulsi Gabbard. Thank you. That's another one I needed to add to the list. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm fine with them, having some prominent anti-war voices. I don't think they're necessarily anti-war for the right reasons or all the right reasons. But if they can sell enough people on being anti-war, I would be okay with that. Even if you can be anti-war for the wrong reasons, and I got to take what I can get. However, I don't think, Tucker Carlson wants to nationalize like whole industries and doesn't, and it has a kind of, I have a problem with right-wing Luddites, with him saying he doesn't want automation in certain industries, and he's pretty on board with some of the Andrew Yang stuff as far as automation. Free markets don't work that way. There's gonna be a need for people to work these automation jobs. They don't happen overnight. It's the same thing as like, oh, if we would just think about the horses and buggies, we got to shut these cars down. People are going to be too efficient.
Yep. It's completely like that. And it's interesting. My parents are 83, embrace technology. And I'm getting older, and I do as well. And you can't sit back, and it's almost a selfish. And I think that's maybe the vaccine type of thing too. You saw a lot of older people. Oh, well, don't kill me. And Robbie Bernstein really took on the boomer generation during this about how selfish they are. And I think it was actually very poignant because my parents, as an example, they kept traveling. They're like, why am I telling you to ruin your life for me, who I've lived a long one, right? That's horrible for my grandkid. And I'm like, yes, I think you're righteous, moral people, and a lot of people aren't. So anyway, I just thought there's got to be a technique that we can use when you bring these people and they're part of it, but you are unabashed about your economics. Maybe that's what it is. You just, you see too much like, oh, I don't want to offend them. So you bring them in and then they'll talk about their thing and then they'll trash, capitalism in the same breath. And you're like, oh, well, that's nice, but at least it's anti-war. How about I get up there and I say I'm anti-war? Oh, and communism sucks. And the finances and the Federal Reserve are part of the problem as to why we're everywhere in this case, keeping everybody. Anyway, that's just some things that we can work on. That's my idea.
I think this is why I think Tho is really good, because Tho kind of can reach to some of these people in ways.
You're still on the Tho bandwagon even after you cut your hair?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm a Tho nationalist. No, I mean, Tho does good work with a lot of different groups. And, it's tough to say, can you bully these people into our positions, or do you have to extend the olive branch? And it could go either way. They're not necessarily willing to extend the olive branch to us. And we've seen it time and time again as, every libertarian is Nick Sarwark or the Cato Institute. And we get labeled as that. But, I
think good old Rush Limbaugh back in the day. When I met my wife, and women, for a lot of reasons, many of them didn't like him. Oh, he's too opinionated. And I don't think it was opinionated so much as just he was confident in his position. And maybe that's what we need to be. Fine, I'm anti-war, but you know what? I'm also pro-capitalist. And I'm going to say it. And we can agree on this one thing, but you are going to hear me about the ills of the communism, Lindsay, some of his crap takes and all those kind of things. And we need to stand up and be the part. Anyway, that's one idea there. What about Fetterman coming out and chairing a committee? What do you think of that? Did you watch that?
I did watch a little snippet of that. I thought that was amazing. Okay. I'm pro Fetterman, though, by the way.
I'm going to watch that whole thing. And I might cut out the stuff where people are testifying and just only show his parts. So let me know. We can definitely work that out. Combo that with Joe Biden just announcing that he's running for president. I have no problem trashing these people that are, one, mentally retarded, too old and senile. People, they're old. No, F them and their families. Putting these people forward is the problem, completely insane, and they should be mocked mercifully for all of this. Mercilessly. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. You got it out. No, I agree with you. Although I tend to take the pro, everyone in Washington is a retard, and the more obvious it is, the more it works in our favor. So I prefer more John Fetterman's. I think things have to get better or have to get worse in Washington before they can get better, at least in terms of federalism or secession or any type of decentralization movement. People just are too on the fence about it. It's starting to grow, and there's starting to be a sort of groundswell calling for the national divorce, which I'm extremely optimistic about. I think that's great. The more states that push nullification and 10th Amendment things, I think it's going to work in our favor. And the more that, DC pushes, the more likely we are to see those sorts of things. And that's why you see in places like Tennessee, after the shooting, they basically have used these kids to make celebrities out of the local politicians here, and they're dumping tons of money in because they don't want any dissent for their, progressive imperialist values.
Yeah. Answer this one. Sure, Tho supports Trump and Masters, but he also supports Rubio, Neil Dunn, his/my U.S. rep, and every other terrible Republican. What say you on that?
I mean, I don't know about those stance on that. I could see, an argument to say that, they're preferable to others, at least, for what he's trying to get done. We are, would I rather see, 100 Fettermans in Congress or 100 Masseys? Obviously I would take 100 Masseys, but we've only got one Massey and there's at least 5 types of Fettermans. We've got the squad, who's essentially as brain dead as Fetterman. You got Biden and you've got Fetterman and Chuck Schumer and all those.
I waffle back and forth between, it'd be nice to have competent, smart people, but my wife was saying that the other day. She goes, "Oh, at least Obama, he was smart. He can articulate, and some of these others." And I'm like, Biden's just out of it. And I go, but the problem is, those people are able to fool people more. They're doing the exact same policies, but you feel better about it because this guy's in office.
The slick talker, yeah.
Yeah, and when Biden's there doing it, you're like, wait, what? No, why are we? Wait, whoa, this doesn't make any sense. This is the guy that's trying to push this. I'm like, yeah, but it's maybe the fact that he's able to get it through as well means someone else is controlling things. I don't know. This is I did as well. I came to Little Dicky's defense in his criticism of Caitlin Johnstone when he was getting dogpiled on, which is why I was particularly pissed when he threw me under the bus on TG. So David thing was on Break the Cycle. I made some comments. He then followed me because I decided to unblock him because he blocked me. Little Dicky, we'll just give him some news here. The Little Dicky account blocked us for some stupid reason. So then on my account, I unfollowed and I blocked him on his personal account. And then we kind of seemed to have a truce. He followed me back. I followed him. I DM and I said, "Hey, no more stupid blocking, deal?" And he's like, "Okay, deal." So we're friends again. He's young. He's young and he needs to understand. You don't just Andy, loyalty. That's what it is. You can have disagreements. You and I could have complete disagreements, but we're going to be loyal.
Yeah, he was being a moody teenager, and I didn't take it personally. He blocked me.
No, I wasn't either. I was just going to teach him a little lesson that may or may not have worked.
Yeah. I had Lorenzo reach out to him and tell him to unblock me. So I unblocked him, and he unblocked me for a day, and then I blocked him back just to give him a little taste of his own medicine. And then I talked to Lorenzo. I was like, "I'm not mad at him, and I don't take it personal." And I was on, I agreed with him completely on the Caitlin Johnstone stuff. I was already there, but I already had Johnstone blocked because I don't want to see her ugly mug go across my timeline.
Right. By the way, I joined in with Spud as well and it was with Patrick McFarland and some of these others, and I thoroughly disagree. Like I said, I just pointed out why that is a problem if you just let them run the show, because they will always run the show. Because you know what? They're those narcissistic people with a lot of that they think they need to control you when they need to. And so therefore, when it comes to finances and economics and all these other things, they're going to be the dictator loving people. How do you wrap RFK? He wants to jail you in one sense, and then the other one, he's all upset at the government's involvement. How do you this work?
I don't know. I don't try to apply logic where there is none. But, you and I have talked about this before, just about promoting people from our side that are anti-war and good on economics. We have to promote those people more than we promote these other people that might already have a larger following. And you could say, sure, you're good on anti-war, but you suck on all these other things. So you don't really have my full support. You have my support insofar as that you don't want this war. But we know that, we've talked about this before too, when the Vietnam protesters weren't actually protesting the war. They were just rooting for the other side. And it always seems to come out there in favor of the communist states. And they will run apologetics for any tyrannical, leftist or socialist state. But
by the way, I do go listen to Carrie's podcast. And I don't know if I expressed it enough. It's her dad was in Nam, he's PTSD and all these things. So he's going through therapy, and then they're like, "Hey, you guys should write some of these things out." So he did date by date, kind of like when he got finished high school, boom, boom, boom. And so she reads it. She said he just died. So her mom and her decided she would read this. So she does this, and she produces her podcast. But you remember who Carrie Baldwin is. She debated Walter Block on abortion at the Soho Forum and beat him to the point where he's doing his final things, just like, man, you did. I just really got to think about some of that was just amazing. You know how Walter's like nice and congratulatory, and he's basically telling everybody she just kicked my ass. I mean, it was pretty good. Point is, she reads this thing, and like I said, there's things in here where he just really hates the anti-war people that are, the way they're treating him. And he wanted to do violence against them and all kinds of stuff. And you could see why, he's over. Yeah. And then she makes a great point at the end that these anti-war people, especially back then, were the Marxists, and she's anti-war now for a different reason. And I think when I first came into this and I was asking Pete and some of these other people, how do you be anti-war without making yourself look like a piece of shit to the veterans, And I think for them, especially, like, the Vietnam ones, they were drafted. So anyway, it's pretty emotional, and it's really well done. I would suggest everybody do it. I think it's
Scott and I have had phone conversations about this stuff, and Ron Paul did a great job in 2008 and 2012, right? He had the most military support behind his campaign.
Yeah.
I think, the military has changed so much now that most of the people in the military, are, well, I don't know, maybe not most, because 80% of them are still red-blooded like Americans and they come from the South. And but there's a lot of them, that are gay. Yeah, mind. But, you have to sort of appeal to their emotion of, we don't want any more Americans dying in pointless forever wars that cost the American people. We get nothing out of them but bloodshed. And, you can... And economically, it ruins us. Domestic policy is intrinsically linked with foreign policy as far as spending and budget and printing and inflation. They have to fund these wars, and they basically hold the American people hostage to do it.
It's my progression with the war is very interesting because the neocon growing up or type of thing. But I remember once again another Simpsons episode where they had veterans of had a parade, and it said veterans of popular wars. So all the Vietnam guys were kind of over there on the side. They weren't allowed to do that to celebrate. And I remember looking for a book. I'm like, maybe is there any books about like the pro side of why America got in? Because it is very lefty dominated, a part of the anti side. And so anyway, there's some. One of them was David Horowitz, who now is a big righty. I don't know if he's dead yet, but he had Ramparts. He was a commie back in the 60s, and he talked about how he did a breakdown of the Vietnam protests based on when the draft ended and how the protest marches just like obliterated, so that was a big deal about the draft. Anyway, so I've always been very interested in all this, and I probably should read just Rothbard specifically on some of this stuff. Or Dave DeCamp was on Tom Woods' show talking about it. He was really good. So there are definitely some people out there.
Yeah, for sure. And like I was saying, I think, we need to promote more of the guys from our side that are good on these things. On not just Minder, great point.
Read it there for our audio people only. I converted my pro-war boomer to become hardcore anti-war by stating that the purpose of the war is to kill the bravest white men in one's nation. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't have too many of those. That's why, you get rid of the biggest stumbling block right there for anybody.
We talked about that when we went over Hannah Cox. She's talking about all the men that die, and the risky work that they do. And I don't know if she went into war, but that's who, we slaughter millions of them, at least back in the early 1800s, 1900s from that. So,
yeah, I mean, we still do to this day.
Attaboy, meat grinders. That's kind of the Pink Floyd stuff, isn't it? So what else you got? Any last comments before we head out on your Tuesday evening?
No, we need to announce. We need to finish this book. We need to announce the next Kill Pod, and we need to move on to the next book.
Okay, Kill Pod. Yeah, we need to do. Do you want to do a specific genre or not?
Let's give it a few days. We'll see if we can come up with something, and if not, but let's shoot for if you got a Friday evening coming up, maybe next week.
Okay. If you don't want to do a Friday, we can do a different night. But if Friday is the best, then we'll shoot for a Friday. The only reason I say that is because there's some people, Zach Brown, who I do want to have come on be our guest with this. He's on an Unjected podcast. It sounds gay. He's with some women. It is. But it's conflicts. So that's our problem. So got Kill Pod.
Saturday would work for me too. So. Okay.
I just don't know that works for everybody else. I don't know why it wouldn't. The book, we got to finish the book. I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to do the Fetterman live watch before that thing's out of my mind. So, if you want to do that this week, let me know and we can do a live watch, Fetterman.
Yeah.
See you, Spud. Thanks for showing up, everybody. Okay.
Thank you, Spud. Thank you, Minder. Thank you, everybody in the chat.
Okay, Andy, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at Tower King Cole. I'm on the Tower Gang podcast every Wednesday at 9/11. Follow my fitness journey. And shout out to my son, Aiden.
All right. I'm Tyler. Find me, Tyler Yonke, on Twitter. That's all we've got. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Things.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Chick-fil-A is completely overrated. It's not that good. I prefer Zaxby's. I prefer Popeyes.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Should I vote for Dick Cheney on the Libertarian Party? Do I have an obligation to vote for Dick Cheney?
I would say so.
Yes.
Did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
That one dude was like, not a podcast. I can't find it anywhere. They don't have video.
Oh, yeah, Peter Janke. Yeah.
Yeah, I blocked him.
I'll do it. If he unblocks me, I'll...
He'll buy your shirt if you unblock him, Bert.
He's a wigger.
Yeah, nothing cooler than a 49-year-old wigger. I just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But anyways,
boomer.